Welcome back to Chopcast.
Been a minute. Been a
Second
minute.
season. Yeah, it's been a long time. The Braves won the World Series. I don't remember if y'all remember that. That was it was pretty good. Um,
I liked it.
yeah, I was a
Yeah,
fan.
I was a big fan of it,
Yeah.
actually. Will,
Um,
were you a fan of it? What were your thoughts on the
I
World
was
Series?
more of a fan, yeah, as opposed to Houston, yeah.
That's
Big
fair.
fan.
very good. Yeah.
Good
Um,
stuff.
yeah. My name is Griffin. If you haven't seen me, heard me before, Sam and
Yep,
Will.
Sam. Yep, to the right or on top of
Yeah.
the video screen,
Will's on the bottom.
as he always is.
Will is a natural Reds fan, but with all the moves that they've been making recently, he's about to become a full-on Braves fan.
Woo.
Okay, well, possibly. Go ahead.
He also does not have his Kentucky basketball to watch anymore.
Fuck you.
Oh my God, that
No,
was
that was
brutal.
just keep going. Just keep going.
Well, they made it all the way to the Sweet 16, though. They're a good team.
Do you want to know
Did say
something? So I was talking to my parents the other day. They were in Lexington, and my mom was like, "This was right after the game." She was like, "Yeah, I was scared to go outside because we could hear gunshots." And
Oh my
then
God.
she was driving. She was driving down Euclid Avenue, which is like one of the busier streets in Lexington, where like a ton of college kids live. Very nice area. There was a car flipped in the middle of the road, and it was
Holy
just,
shit. Oh my God.
yeah, no, it's ruined like the past 2 weeks for me. It's just
No,
devastating.
yeah,
Literally
like
devastating.
every year there's one two seed that loses to 15. Like there
This
it's
is
like
the
death
well, this
taxes and one two seed losing to 15.
this is our third time ever, like ever in program history, losing to a double digit. But this is
Wow.
probably like the worst in like program
Mm,
history.
mm.
Yeah. Did you see the thing that it was like uh,
I'm
St.
sure I did, Griffin.
Kentucky
I'm
spent
sure I did.
12 and a half times more on basketball than St.
I did.
Peter's?
I did. My one of my good friends here, he brought it up to me and was incessant about it. And I wasn't happy, and so like I just attacked everything he loved. I like didn't hold back. I attacked his brother. I attacked his dog. I did everything I could that was underneath the sun. I haven't talked
Oh
to him
my
in a few
God.
days, but
Uh,
no, that was.
You're not
God
projecting.
damn! I can't believe we lost. I can't believe it happened.
At least y'all made it, you know? That's
mm,
the
Yeah. That's the
mm.
expectation, though, Griffin. That's the expectation.
that is
Not
true.
Yeah.
even just making it, the Sweet 16. That's the expectation.
Mm. Yeah, I had y'all winning in my second bracket.
Did you actually? Okay.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
didn't happen.
You
But
know, they're talking to, there's a, not to get too off topic, but
mhm.
apparently, like, Oscar's, like, probably going to come back,
That's good.
which is, like, a big deal.
Yeah. I hope he's awesome. I hope that
Oh, dude,
Kentucky
he's the
fans aren't
best.
pissed at him.
No. He's basically a god. Sam, I took Griffin to a Kentucky game this year,
All
and
right. Yeah.
he got 28 rebounds.
Are you
28.
serious?
28.
28?
He broke the Ruperino record, which was held by Shaq.
Goodness
It was
gracious.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
wild, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't USC basketball is just atrocious this year. We don't have anything like that. I mean, our
No,
best
we
player,
all made
Evan
the
Mobley.
tournament.
Yeah, and then we lost to a 10 seed. It was
That is
brutal.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it was shitty to watch, but
Let's move
that
on to
kind of
baseball, though.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
move on to
yeah, yeah.
baseball.
Anyway,
yeah.
well, um, it's been a while, so we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on with us
hmm
during the lockout, since there's been absolutely nothing to talk about in between that time.
Yeah.
We just like filter fish. We just or not. That's a food.
Start again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like a fish in a tank. We just sat and just stared at the
Yeah.
glass until
No,
baseball came back on.
it's tough times, man. It's tough times. Like the
Mhm.
the fact that MLB couldn't like even on their website, they couldn't publish anything about players. Like that was awful. It was
Yeah,
all like history and coaches and just like manager stuff. Is terrible to watch. You're right. It's like watching just nothing.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm not a huge NBA fan, and that was pretty much the only main sport going on, other than the NHL, which I used to be big into. But
yeah, and then the Falcons are pretty obsolete at this point. I mean, they've kind of, not to go off on a tangent there, but like I'm really going to be invested in this Braves season. I don't think they're going to get any of my attention.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the most just thinking about stuff we've done recently as humans other than baseball, Will and I, in our families, and then one of our other friends went to Disney World, as college seniors typically do.
It was electric. It was so sick.
It was fantastic. If you've never been drinking around the world, you should absolutely do that. Yeah, the phrase "it's electric" would not stop leaving Will's mouth.
It was.
Yeah. What we get, like, we started, or we were split for the first half.
We were split for a little bit. I finished first. I remember that because I was a few countries ahead of you all. But the ones that I think the best one was the sangria from Italy.
Really?
That was my favorite by far.
What about the margarita?
Margarita was good, but it was also like $15.
Yeah.
Like you get a little bit more value from the sangria.
Yeah.
Because it's a red wine and vodka, right? I mean, it's
something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was I'm really glad that it was shady that day. I was worried like it was going to be sunny and 85 and we were just going to like dry out and black out, vomit all over the place. But
that would have been a sight. That would have been a sight.
But that was fun. And then the day before, my whole life not been into roller coasters, and finally just was like, well, screw it, I'm gonna go do them. And I've been chasing that high. Yeah, that was Universal.
Yeah.
I've been chasing that high ever since. God, the fucking Velocicoaster is so
that
good.
thing was so sick.
Just
electric.
Incredible.
It was so badass.
It has like these two launch pads,
right.
And then it basically does everything that you can have. I don't know.
It does everything.
It does everything.
Coaster?
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
It gives you ice cream. That's awesome.
It's your girlfriend. It's like it gives you
it's
money.
Nice to you.
It's your job.
You experience a full range of emotions. You're happy. It makes you sad.
It's really sad at the same time. It gives the roller coaster an entirely different new meaning.
Yeah, you actually it's the process of life, and it buries you in the ground afterwards, alive. But
that's the worst part. And then the Disney World employees have to dig you out. They can't hire anyone to do it. It's the worst job in the world.
But Sam, you were in Mexico.
So me and for all the viewers, I'm out here on the West Coast. I got a USC, and we went to Puerto Vallarta for spring break, which was super fun. Had a little too much fun sometimes. I made an oath against sunscreen. I said I wasn't going to put any on the entire break. And for those who know me personally, I am either pale or burnt, so that was a lot of fun. I used a lot of aloe. Didn't really sleep comfortably most nights. Had one night where I was doing a fair share of, tossing eggs at walls, punching holes in walls, having a great time, having a senior college spring break. And
just another Tuesday.
Just another Tuesday, right? We get rowdy, we have fun.
Just drinking tequila until you can't see, and then
punching
holes in walls.
It's life.
Yeah.
It's what you do in this wonderful thing we call life. But no, yeah, Puerto Vallarta is super cool. Obviously, wrapping up senior year and college stuff has been nice. But yeah, headed out to New York City afterwards for some job stuff, and now I'm back. So spring break was pretty solid for me. I mean, life since the lockout, life since the World Series has been going. No like major developments, but super excited for the next few weeks, and just to see like. I've just been replaying Chip Carey welcoming us back. That first game. I turned on the Twins game today, the Braves Twins game today, and got to watch Fried pitch 3 innings of shutout ball and no hits. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I am. It's kind of like it's a little worrying. There hasn't been a repeat champion since when? Like, wasn't it the
Ooh.
Yankees?
I think it was.
I mean,
it
my
probably
guess.
was.
I mean, that hasn't happened in a really long time.
I think it was before 2000,
mm.
or maybe it was exactly around then. I can't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, 98.
Okay.
So it's been like 20, 25 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah. So that's a little worrying, and I don't think that we're as good of a team as they were. But we can. We'll figure it out. We're fans. We're
yeah,
here
I
for
know.
the.
Yeah, but then again, let's look back at where we thought we were going to be last season. You know, even midway through,
Yeah.
the Braves didn't break 500 until what, like
August.
June, July. Yeah, literally August 2nd. I think my birthday was when we broke 500. So
Yeah.
we could, you know.
But
I don't know.
let's. Will you have anything
Let's
more to add
go.
from your spring break, or whatever, your
Uh,
life?
Nothing particular. Yeah, my life over the past 2 weeks has just been going downhill. So,
Nothing's going well.
no. I'm hoping the tide finally turns this week.
Yeah.
But it's happened before. Chances are it'll just keep plummeting down.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good. Disney was a lot of fun. Nothing really else though. So
God, every time I go there, I like. There's
I
specific
feel like
parts.
such a child.
Yeah,
feel
well,
like such
yeah.
a child.
But it's just like
That's how you should feel.
There's specific parts where I'm like, oh, this isn't that great. This isn't super fun. And then there's a number of really good moments, and then I leave, and I'm like, God, I just want to be back there again. I don't want to be a Disney adult. That's like hell. That's the.
That's like my nightmare.
Yeah. And so like, I've thought about whoever I like get married to, they have to be less into Disney than I am. Which I'm not that big into it, but like if they are, then like I'm just gonna get roped in with them, and then
you're not gonna say no.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say no. And then
it's too exciting. Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm Miss Lifsey, and I have an annual pass, and I just go
Yeah.
there for vacation 2 times a year. If she's listening, I'm sorry.
Nice high school teacher reference. We all went to high school together.
Yeah.
For
Everyone knows Miss Lifsey. Everybody.
Yeah, no, it's classic.
Yeah,
classic Miss Lifsey.
But anyway,
sweet lady, very sweet lady.
The main reason that the main thing that happened since the lockout, being a Braves fan, that has caused a huge stir of emotions. Freddie Freeman is no longer a Brave. Sam, what were your
Oh my goodness!
The initial, like when it happened, what were you thinking?
So I was thinking, well, first of all, I was on a boat in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico on a like snorkel booze cruise, best day of your life type of trip. Like I just seen a whale breach out of the water. This was actively one of the better days of my existence, and like I don't really have cell service. I'm just enjoying things as I should. And one of my best friends, who's a Dodgers fan, like fuck my life, right?
That's disgusting.
He looks at me. Yeah, no, it's heinous. Like we literally can't watch games
Your
together.
friend's a piece of shit.
He is, and I'll tell him that. Like I have no problem telling him that. But yeah, so I'm on a boat in the middle of Mexico, and I don't have service. And my friend looks at me and goes, "Did you hear the news about Freddie?" And I was like, "No, asshole, I don't have service." He's like, "He's gone," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like I didn't even what does that even mean? And then he follows up by talking about how Matt Olson was traded and how there's the insinuation that Freddie's gone. And honestly, I was on a trip with 15 other people. All 15 of them were at the front of the boat, and for about 30 minutes, I went to the back, and I just kind of sat there and I called Griffin. I remember one of my friends, Henry, he saw me and heard me on the phone with Griffin, And when I got back to the front of the boat, he asked me if like a family member had died because I was like, so on the phone with Griffin, I'm like, I'm on a boat right now. Like, we really need to talk about this later. Like, I'm just, so devastated, so upset. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, all things considered, it was always a possibility, which is super unfortunate. But I don't know. My immediate reaction was obviously to shock at not really understanding. I was in a good place to, you know, kind of redirect my attention, but
Yeah. But so
obviously
like
a huge bummer.
what were your like main what was the first thing running in your head, like who to blame? Like before we talk
Oh
about
my,
like what we know now.
yeah, no, that's a great question. My, my first thought was like, fuck AA,
Yeah.
honestly. Cause when the news breaks that Freddie's gone as kind of collateral damage of trading for Matt Olson, your first thought is, holy shit, our owner just traded for a 26, 27-year-old first baseman, gave away four of our considerable prospects. Obviously, say what you want about Pache. He has an incredibly high ceiling. Uh, and so I was mad at him. I did not think that this guy who's built this franchise, helped us win a World Series last year, would just kind of screw over the fan base like that. You would think that this deal would be made first or kind of made a priority, but that was my first thought. Was just I lost a lot of trust in the process, and I was mostly just mad at Liberty Media, AA, just kind of the message that it sends to fans that you can just kind of trade for a new kid on the block and leave someone in the dust. But obviously, as we know now, it might have been more on Freddie's end that things didn't work out, or maybe they overplayed their hand, or the agent didn't seem to be doing a great job. But that's just kind of where I was at. Obviously,
Yeah.
would love to hear like where y'all were at, what you thought, and kind of those reactions.
So I was driving back from Chattanooga to Athens, and
Mm.
like so I didn't see anything about it, and then I got a call from one of my friends here, and then he was like, "Did you see what happened?" And I was like, "No," and he said, "Olsen to the Braves," and I just started fucking screaming.
Yeah.
And like that he called me like 20 minutes before I drove by Truist, and like so then I put it like on our Instagram story. I just said that I was like incredibly irate or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then I like almost got in a wreck. It wasn't like there was like there was a plastic bag in the middle of the highway, and like six
Yeah.
cars in the left lane just fucking hit the brakes. And they're like, I don't want to hit the plastic bag, and like
Just
They were
chaos.
actually all finding out about Freddie at the same time.
yeah. Yeah. But they slammed on the brakes, and I was like looking at my phone trying to see which prospects we gave up.
Yeah.
Barely didn't hit somebody, and so like when I did, like I already get really angry like whenever I'm driving when stuff like that happens, and I was screaming. I was just like,
Yeah.
for a fucking plastic bag, let's go. But yeah, I was driving by, like I was just thinking about how pissed I was, and then like I was trying to take a picture, which is very smart while you're driving.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
I was trying to take a picture of Trist, and then just like type out like, "Let me in. I want to swing on AA." And yeah, so that was instantly what I was thinking, was just like AA didn't give him that extra year. That's so ridiculous. Why didn't he give him that extra year? And then also I just generally don't like Liberty Media, so I just was unhappy with them. But I was like, he should be able to give them one extra year. I don't understand why not. But yeah, that ruined, like, I was already just kind of like sad coming back from spring break, and like I have to go back to school and whatever, and have some other interpersonal stuff or whatever, and then I was like borderline legitimately depressed for 2 days, and I just kept thinking, I was like, this is so ridiculous that I'm this sad about a person not being on our team anymore.
A baseball
a guy
player.
who just hits around balls and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I am legitimately depressed.
Yeah. No,
but,
it's
yeah, I was
yeah.
furious with AA and Liberty Media, But
Mhm.
Will, you don't have as much emotional attachment because you're not.
I mean, I'll be frank. I was pretty pissed off
Yeah.
because I think, I mean, I love Freddie. I mean, he's
Mhm.
like objectively like if he played for the Yankees, I'd still love Freddie.
Mhm.
But it's also the fact of the team he now plays for. I
Yeah.
mean, it's and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But it's just disgusting because I think it's like emblematic of again like the big markets just like using smaller markets as like
Feeders.
another farm team, which
Yeah.
is disgusting.
Mhm.
It's just it ruins the sport. Their
Mhm.
team is literally like an all-star lineup. It's Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Like Freddie Freeman's probably the third or maybe fifth best player on that team right now, at worst.
Yeah.
Like he's not better than
Yeah.
Mookie.
Yeah.
He's not
Max
better than
Muncy is
Mookie.
their backup first baseman now.
He's probably gonna
Yeah,
be their
he'll be their
DH.
DH, but just saying
Yeah.
that he's
No, yeah.
virtually their backup first
They don't
baseman.
have Seager anymore.
Mhm.
Chris Taylor's really good. Will Smith is an animal.
Their
AJ
worst,
Paul.
yeah, their
Yeah.
Yeah,
worst
they have
starting
a
player is
former.
AJ Pollock, who was
Yeah.
They
was he an
they have
all-star?
another. I don't think so. But another one is like, I mean, they have Cody Bellinger, who's been awful for a while now, but he
Mhm.
still won an MVP.
Yeah.
Like he did
Yeah.
that.
I was gonna say you can make the argument that Belly might actually be the worst player
Yeah.
on their starting lineup
Honestly,
right now, which
honestly.
is ludicrous. Like that
Oh,
is
it's
absolutely
scary.
insane. Yeah.
hmm And then you've got to remember like their pitching is just insane with Dustin
Mm.
May and like Kershaw,
Urias,
Bueller,
Bueller.
Urias. It's
Yeah.
insane. So
Yeah.
that I was pissed off about, but also like growing up, Freddie was like always on the Braves, and it's sort of tough like watching that
Mm.
happen. I will say like I think objectively like I think AA did the right move, like pretty
Mm.
objectively.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like it's pretty clear. Like I always think like whenever a team loses a player as good as Freddie, like I don't think the GM like wants that to happen. If
Mm.
anything, I think his hands are tied. And like, I think AA instead of
Yeah.
trying to like get desperate in that situation, like Matt Olson's a great player. He's not as good as Freddie, but that's better than like picking up some like bum to
Yeah.
Yeah.
stick at
Or
first
having to
base because
start
you
somebody
missed that on Freddie.
like Orlando Arcia there, or having to
Oof.
switch
No,
Austin Riley over to first.
Switching Austin. You're right.
And the other thing
The-
is like, I mean, the other elephant in the room is like Matt Olson is considerably younger. I want to say 6 years because I
Yeah,
think
he's
Freddie's
6 years
I think
33,
he's
younger.
I think he's 6 years
and
younger.
you pair that with Ronnie, Ozzie, Austin
Mm.
Riley, all of who are pretty young. And I
Mhm.
think it's fair to argue that like you extend your window by like another 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, Especially now that he's locked up for 8 years, I want to say. So I did like
Yep.
that move, but it was also
Mm.
like, I mean, it stung because I think it was a bad day for baseball, like just overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna move
in
my car. I'll be right back.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in hindsight, the are you taking us with you, or are you okay? No.
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Bye, Will. um, but yeah, in hindsight, in terms of like as a business, this
Mhm.
was the, I guess technically the best thing to do. But so okay,
Yeah.
but just looking back to Freddie and like knowing what we know now, a
Right.
lot of information coming out of that Chipper interview. So
Oof.
like
Scathing.
yeah,
Pretty
like
uncomfortable read, honestly.
yeah, I mean like he said that like he's still friends with Freddie and like is gonna keep in contact with him and everything
Yeah.
and like support him and everything. But yeah, so if y'all haven't read that, the gist, so the knowledge that we know now about what happened with Freddie, so Chipper, just giving context, he never went to free agency. He always made his
Mm.
deals before getting to that point because he wanted to be a Brave for life. And I'm gonna connect my charger real quick, but I'm gonna keep
Go
talking.
for it.
Um,
Yeah.
but so as Freddie, like in spring training last year, like most people were expecting the deal to be made last spring training. Um,
Yeah, that was
and
a weird time.
yeah, and uh, during that time, Chipper told Freddie, he was like, if you get to free agency, uh, like you're not gonna be on the Braves anymore, because you're gonna be like I think the words he used were like you're gonna be the pretty girl like being courted by all these guys or whatever, and you're gonna see the like the figures that you can receive and you're gonna be out of here. So like if you really want to be a Brave, like don't try to squeeze out a few extra million or get one more year on your contract or whatever, because one, like it's just showing that you don't really value being a Brave as much as you do a couple extra million or that one extra year. Um, but also specifically with Anthopoulos, like he's one of the smarter GMs that we've seen, like him bringing
Yeah.
Soler and Rosario out of nowhere and Peterson. But he's like, you don't want to have to like mess with him. You're not going to be able to deal with him, and not in a bad way. Like he is
He
a
just like
smart guy.
he's smart. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just a really fucking smart guy.
And so yeah, he basically warned Freddie, don't try to gamble with this if you actually want to be a Brave. And that's what he did. And it is shown like Freddie genuinely did want to be a Brave for life, but I guess, I mean, it was him. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is his decision to let this happen, but his agents and his camp decided, like, you know, let's try to gamble and get a few extra mil, get a few more years. And he did that. It didn't work out. And, yeah, that's the thing that stings the most. Like, he's been with this organization for 15 years. Everybody loves him. And or hold on. All right, sorry. Talking about Freddie. Yeah, so he's been with the organization for 15 years. He he showed that he wanted to be a Brave for life, but at the end of the day, it was his decision. He could have just told his agents, like, just sign the deal. I want to be here. But I also, like, I blame Liberty Media too, because I just don't like them in general and think that they're incredibly cheap and don't they're ultimately what took that extra year off the table. And they don't give a crap about like hometown favorites or like people, like having somebody like Freddie on the team. Like all they're thinking about is figures, which I mean,
Yeah, it's a numbers game, which is it's a business, right?
yeah, ultimately for them. But
Did you did you all like the trade for Matt Olson specifically, like what the Braves gave up?
so that's the other thing of why I'm incredibly angry with Freddie, is what we had to give up for Olson. So I think the reason that we had to give up so much, was because you had a team like the Yankees, who were definitely pursuing Matt Olson, and I think we had to surpass whatever they could with their trade offer, and yeah, that was when I saw like what we'd given up. I don't like. I'm not sure that there's like to me we don't win that trade. There's a very very little chance that we win it. I think at best it's a very even trade.
You think so? Yeah.
But there's a good chance that we could lose this trade. Cuz like I think those were all first round picks. I know Pache was. First or
Yeah.
second round.
Cusick was.
Cusick was.
Cusick was a wake. He was a wake guy, right?
Yeah, he was.
And he can pump like
Yeah, Wake
100
Forest.
easy.
Yeah.
And then the same with Estes.
Mm.
The main person
I don't think Langoliers was, but he was really good.
Yeah, that's the main person that I'm pissed about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I was really excited for him.
Yeah. Like, that was our catcher of the future. I know that we have Contreras, and I really like him, and he's shown good potential. But Langoliers, like, had everything. Contreras would go on long droughts of like not hitting, and wasn't the best defensively. Still didn't really know how to call a game. But Langoliers, like the reason that we brought up Contreras and not Langoliers, I think, was because we were trying to protect Langoliers and not like damage him in the minor or the majors. We were trying to really get his skills developed. Pache it sucks to see him go because I really liked him. He seemed like a good person.
He's like a good guy. Yeah, and
he's
like
a
good guy.
Gelled really well with Acuna and Albies and like all the other Hispanic guys in there. And it just with him, like, I didn't like to admit it, but like he was definitely overrated. I think. I think it's just everybody sitting on like if he could finally get his bat to do something. Because he had a 80 rated fielding, which is insane. But at the end of the day, of him and Waters and Michael Harris, I'd probably lose Waters, but Waters has honestly been pretty productive in spring training. So we couldn't keep all of them. My favorite one out of all of them is Michael Harris, who is now our top prospect.
Oh, same.
Yeah. Like, he's been on a meteoric rise. But regardless, like, we go from having a pretty stout prospect pool to losing 4 top 15 prospects.
Definitely a lot thinner.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot thinner.
So like the argument for Olson kind of extending our window a little bit is true, but on the flip side of that, like these guys,
have to win within those 4 years. Yeah.
But like also we just don't have that depth to come in anymore as much. So yeah, that's ultimately Freddie could have been a Brave.
If you want more perspective, before the trade, this is when the Braves had Pache, Langoliers, the rest of them. They came in at the 23rd best farm system in baseball on MLB Pipeline. So probably looking closer to 27, 26 now, for being honest.
So that is definitely an indication that
probably I don't know their farm system, but I'm sure it's still better than the Phillies. So
that doesn't mean very much at all.
I cannot wait for more Phillies hate. I can't wait for the Braves to come back and to root for the Braves, but more importantly, I can't wait for the Phillies to come back so I can fucking hate them as much as I did last season. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I hear everything you're saying, and like the main one that sticks with me is Langoliers. He's just so like everything that was coming out of from like the journalism standpoint, everything that was being said about him was so positive. And I think you're right about Contreras. Like we definitely prioritize him so that Langoliers wouldn't get like rushed too quick, and he looked like he was on a pretty good trajectory. But I think my biggest fear at the trade is that Pache like reaches his potential. Obviously, like from like a personal perspective, we want him to because like he's a good guy and like you could tell he was genuinely heartbroken. And maybe he reaches that, and then the A's trade him in 3 years for the next group of 4 prospects because that's what they do and they hate their fans. But yeah, it's It's an interesting trade. I will say, just from the Matt Olson perspective, though, we're looking at a consensus top three first baseman in the MLB right now. So the return's pretty heavy. I think we're gonna have a very, very strong Matt Olson, like not face of the franchise, but strong, face of the Braves, for the next 6 to 8 years, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean he's an
Mm.
Atlanta kid, and he talked
Mm.
about how much he's wanted to play for the Braves since he was little.
Mm.
So that's all cool. It's just like I saw a comment um, on one of the fan accounts, like seeing Freddie go or whatever, and uh, it was wrapped up well. Like most people feel this way.
Mm.
Is regardless, most people are like happy about Matt Olson in general, like for
Yeah.
except for people who don't really know much about baseball or whatever. Just a lot like there's probably half of Braves fans and like just talking in general. Um, Probably
Mm.
only know a couple players, which Freddie Freeman's probably the first player on their mind.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
An
Of course.
exciting. This is just something this is slightly off topic, but something I'm excited to see is Matt Olson hit 39 home runs last year, and that's in one of the most pitcher-friendly parks in baseball.
Mm.
yeah, that's true.
Mm. Yeah, the Oakland Coliseum's a dump, man. It's gonna that's I know he's a which way would he's a lefty, so he'd pull towards the chop house,
Yeah.
which
So
is like already a short port. So
yeah.
yeah.
Did something just happen with the audio? No.
I think it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Yeah, but anyway, the comment that I was talking about was like, it's bad when people are this pissed off about getting such a good player,
Mm.
which pretty much sums it up. Because it's like
Mm.
no one's pissed off about getting Matt Olson. You look at it statistically, if these are just human beings that we have no connection to at all, signing a 27-year-old who's a top three first baseman for 8 years for
Mm.
180 is going to be preferred to signing a 33-year-old currently top three first baseman for 140. Like, I don't think this is necessarily going to happen to Freddie, but like he could, have like Pujols or Cabrera trajectory where he gets
Mm.
signed in his mid 30s for several years and then just kind of turns into a bum
Yeah,
and a
How long is his
liability.
deal in LA?
6 years,
six
I'm forgetting.
years.
Yeah, that's right.
and it's only like
6
140 million.
years.
So he's
Mm.
ultimately making less when you factor in the California tax rate than he would have gotten with his
Mm.
5 years, 125 with the Braves, which was the main offer. But
It doesn't make sense, but
yeah,
whatever.
like so he went
AA
fishing
was
from.
clearly just in a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that he could do because Liberty Media wouldn't let him. And
Mm.
he pleaded with Freddie's agents to just drop the 1 year. That was the main caveat. But Freeman's agents as well, like from what Chipper has said and what's known, they were just incredibly not receptive to uh, negotiating. They were just very much like hold
Mm.
out. And ultimately, again, like Freeman could have stepped in and been like, okay, just sign it because whatever he says, like his agents are gonna do. Um,
Mm.
so it still comes down to him. And so apparently, um, like towards the end of negotiations, um, the Liberty not or his agents hadn't talked to Anthopoulos for like 2 weeks, and then
Mm.
like once the lockout ended, they uh, came up with this basically the same thing that they were asking the whole time, which was probably like 6 years, 180 million, and sent it to Anthopoulos and said, "This is our final offer. You have an hour to accept it." And Anthopoulos is not an idiot, and also just wasn't allowed to do it anyway. So he's like, "I can't do this," and that's Chipper ended up being right at the end. Like, Anthopoulos has a job to do. Like, he clearly didn't want to have to do this because he very like he has not. This is the most prospects that he's like the highest rated prospects he's traded since he's been with the Braves, and he's traded a bunch of them. So he does not like getting rid of prospects. And 4 top 15 are gone, and you lose a franchise player. I mean, like when he got interviewed about it at spring training, he was like tearing up and got choked up. Like clearly he didn't want this to happen. And then so like Freeman was saying, this is this part that stings. Even like the aftermath of this is just making everything worse, and really making my view of Freeman like a little more complex. Was that so? He said like that the Braves only called him twice within that entire year of negotiating, which that's just wrong. Like that's not the case, and like his agents definitely talked to Anthopoulos that entire year. And also thinking if he really wanted to be a Brave, this would have been done like a year ago because nothing was happening in negotiations. And he said that he was blindsided by the whole thing, which how
could you be?
It's free agency, man. Yeah, like,
and it's
you're holding,
you know what your agents are doing, and like you could have told them not, just to accept the offer, but you continued to hold out, and it was, a couple days before spring training started. Like, either we finally reach an agreement, which nothing had changed for an entire year, and you give our GM an hour deadline and say this is it, then it's either we go out and get another great option, or we're just left with nobody. But his comments recently like talked about, he said like they only called me twice, I was completely blindsided, and now he's saying like there's nowhere I'd rather be, and that's just pointed. Like, he seems to be very spiteful about this. Chipper said in the interview that his initial response to hearing the news was he literally like broke down crying. I don't remember where they were, but his dad had to like come pick him up and his family, and they drove back to their house, and then they just sat in the living room and cried for like 2 hours, which is awful. It just not something you want to hear. It's like, because of the like, this is where the complex emotions come in, where like when I started to hear that Freddie and his agents were just not being receptive to any negotiations at all, it's like, well, I feel vindictive against Freddie. Like, I'm angry with Freddie, but then it's like he clearly wanted to be a Brave. Maybe these like the agents just got to his head or something. I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of intricacies, and it's a like very complex web of interaction. From the way I see it is this Olson trade was teed up for a while, and I think that the A's were ready to get rid of Olson, and I think they knew who they were going to get in return. But the good thing though is the Braves are just so clearly skilled at like keeping stuff in house and like not really having any leaks. I know like the Kenley Jansen signing is a really good example of that. Like, no one expected that to happen.
No.
And I think we're all really happy about it. But when it comes to the Olson thing, like, it was just kind of such a like, like, I hate to use baseball terminology, but it feels like a bang bang play almost. Like they were just, he had to do something, and like it was just all happening at once. And I guess we ended up with Olson. But yeah, there's a lot of intricacies in the web. The web is just so complex. It's so difficult to gauge.
Yeah. I don't know. But it, like I saw on one of the other Braves fan accounts, they did like a poll on their story, asking people when Freddie comes back to Atlanta, which I think is like June something. Are you gonna cheer? Or are you gonna boo? And it was about 70-30, 70-30 cheering, which I
Really?
think is like, I'm fine with that.
If they boo, that's sort of disgusting. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not gonna
I
boo
agree.
him.
That's 15 years. I mean,
Yeah, but I think 70-30 is deserved. Maybe 80-20.
I would honestly, I think that the much more the signing is on the like the instance and the contingency of the Olsen trade and how the agents were dealing it with it in general. But there definitely is an aspect of like if Freddie wanted to be here, you would sacrifice a year. Like then you don't have to move. Then you can keep your kids in schools wherever they are. Your like wife. I don't know how if Chelsea had anything to deal with the trade,
There's
but like
a lot of
your wife doesn't have to.
With her.
I feel like there's a small chance that she wanted the LA lifestyle, which having lived in LA for 4 years, I can say not all that. It's really not all that.
Yeah. But that's the other thing too, looking at it in terms of like in perspective of like hopeful for life Braves with Acuna and Albies especially, who are getting dirt as opposed to like people below their caliber. Like Acuna is going to be a top 10 player for the next 10 years probably, at least.
Yeah.
And he's making $100 million over 10 years, which he signed like right away. And then Ozzy Albies has like the least lucrative, like in terms of value of player.
He's such a good guy too. It's like, what are you doing, man?
But
yeah,
I mean but they both know, like they want to be on a winning team for a while, and it's like I think they understood with their agents. It's like, well, it's either you get a big payday, but then you're not on a winning team every year, or you get a smaller payday and you get to be on a more, definitely you have a higher chance of winning.
You get smaller windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
But seeing that sacrifice, and it doesn't reflect well on Freddie, especially just trying to get a few extra million, and then he ends up with less. It's just a tough way to leave. So I think
that series, by the way, is June 24th. So could be a big one.
Braves are coming to LA in like less than a month. I think the series here is April 16th through 18th or 18th through 20th. So I'm gonna be at all those games. I'm so excited. And we're gonna lose all of them because I've not watched. Like, I'm so bad. Just this is a little off topic, but like, I'm such a bad like winning team. Like watching the winning team at a stadium. I went to 7 baseball games this past summer, and I watched the home team or the team I was rooting for win in one of them, and that was the Angels versus like I think they were playing like the Tigers. It was an awful game, but yeah. I mean, I'll be at all the games, and I won't wear my unlucky Acuna jersey.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But yeah, the Freddie story goes on and on. I feel 70-30 about him. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And that's about what the consensus for Braves country is right now as well.
I
think that Olson is going to be a better player than him within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway,
well, Matt, I mean, just yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to move on to other free agents or not, but just a quick note on Olson.
Well,
just very briefly on Olson. Like, I think we need to understand what we're getting here. I mean, this dude is an absolute stud. He is consensus like top 3, first baseman in the like MLB in general. He like got MVP votes last year. I'm pretty sure he's, if you proportionally take the 60 game season from the 2020 levels, and extrapolate to 162 game amount, he's hit upwards of 30, 35 to 40 home runs in the past 3 seasons. Like, this dude is a beast. Like, he is really good, and I think he also fits the Braves mold. He's not, I don't want to say boomer bust, but like he's definitely got the boom factor. On top of that, the dude has just like seriously decreased his strikeout rates. I'm pretty sure he was at like somewhere in the low 30 percentages of like strikeouts, and in the last season alone, he cut it in half. So
Wow.
this dude's gonna be a beast, and like he's gonna be really good, and he's gonna be fun too.